you so much for joining us here today on the Fearless Health Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Anne-Marie Barter, and today we have a very special episode. We are going to talk all about anti-aging. So you are not going to want to miss this episode, and really how to stop aging from within. It is very important. So this is going to really play into your energy, your overall happiness, and your stamina. My special guest is Dr. Darrell Misak, NDRPH, who is a doctor of naturopathic medicine and a licensed pharmacist and a father of 5. He's a busy guy. After receiving his degree in pharmacy, he gained years of university hospital clinical pharmacy experience at Duke University Medical Center with a primary focus in oncology and general medicine. He now runs a private naturopathic practice in Pittsburgh, does regular YouTube shows teaching quantum bioelectric health concepts, and has been published in multiple times in the Naturopathic Doctor News and Review, and does regular radio talks teaching analytical nature approach to health. His pharmacy and naturopathic background with an understanding of quantum bioelectric concepts that lead to the creation of Vi-Telometry. Thank you so much for being here. I'm super excited to have you.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So what do we really need to know about this concept of anti-aging and how to stop this from within?
Well, you can't exactly stop it, but you can certainly slow it down and actually suggestively reverse it a little bit. So you go back, the fascination is in the research of telomeres. And in 2009, the Nobel Prize of Medicine was won by 3 physiologists who discovered an enzyme called telomerase. Okay, enzymes always end in that ASC, you know, and what it is as telomeres, they're at the end of our DNA. And if they shorten, then bottom line, you age. And telomeres are what control our cells from turning over and making new healthy cells. And as they shorten, boom, you know, eventually it causes that aging process. And what these physiologists did is they took mice that were aged to be in their 90s, white hair, cataracts, kidney failure, arthritis, brain couldn't get through mazes. And then they stimulated this enzyme and literally their hair got dark, their brains grew 25%, their cataracts disappeared, their kidney failure went away. They were able to go through their little challenges back to that of a healthy 30-year-old mice, when you're doing age comparisons. Totally reverse engineered it. And I'm like, that is considered, in my opinion, the greatest anti-aging discovery ever. You know, here's how you age. This is the mechanism that controls it. This is what you do to turn it off.
Wow, that's incredible. So what you're saying is with this, you can, as a human, you can reverse the graying of the hair or potentially arthritis, maybe?
Anything's possible, by all means, yes. I mean, so we've had people who have said, hey, their hair turns dark again and simple things, sex life coming back for people in their 70s. And, I just tell people to look at reviews because we can't make claims, of course, right? But what the main thing is, telomeres shorten because of stress, period. Okay, so do you have childhood trauma? If you say no, you're lying, because we all have something that screws with our head that sets up the foundation for not necessarily healthy patterns in our life. And you can even have childhood trauma that leads to repetitive, unhealthy, anxiety-prone, negative energy-based reactions for the rest of your life that actually shortens your telomeres. And so Elizabeth Blackburn, one of those 3 physiologists, wrote a book, and I think it's called The Telomere Effect or something. She reports research in there that's showing that meditation increases your telomeres, that breathing and getting focused and actually doing counseling and dealing with those issues increases your telomeres. So it's not about necessarily taking something, but they did show that crappy lifestyle, eating processed crap food, sitting on your butt, not being active, definitely causes your telomeres to shorten and causes you to age prematurely. So bottom line, what she teaches is lifestyle makes such a huge factor in it. What's causing your stress and how are you dealing with that stress when you get down to that aspect? Because I could turn around and talk to you how, everything is energy, and even mind and these things, thought is energy, and those can cause how energy moves through our body, causing stagnation, affecting, points on acupuncture lines, and you get stagnation, energy can't get somewhere. And so most times you'll see certain emotional patterns will cause certain aches and pains. Certain people carry their stress in one point. One of my favorite people, I'm just going on tangents, you'll see, but there was a guy, his name was Bob Cooley, Cooley, and he wrote a book called The Genius of Flexibility. And he teaches this concept of meridian stretching. He teaches that resistant stretching, you stretch these muscle groups, and next thing you know, you're improving flexibility, and it affects all levels of health across the board. But when he found that releasing certain muscle groups was causing people to talk about money or love or whatever, that there were certain, issues emotionally that were connected with these particular muscle groups that people found that were difficult. So it just all ties it together. It's just beautiful how health you can see this full body picture that connects both Eastern and Western philosophies on how things work.
Yeah, I think that you brought up a lot of good points. And so I want to go back and a little bit reiterate. So we've got telomeres, and we know that stress and childhood trauma are big factors in shortening this, which increase aging. We also know that a really bad lifestyle or poor lifestyle choices will also shorten these. So are there, when we're looking at this, other things that potentially shorten telomeres, is there anything else that will shorten those, like EMFs or environmental chemicals, or what else will also affect them?
Everything you just said causes stress. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I teach that everything is about, it goes back to Tesla. If you want to understand the secrets of the universe, you think in terms of frequency and vibration, and so I teach a bioelectric quantum approach of how everything's energy, but how it comes down to the foods we eat and how you're eating based upon chemistry. Okay. But outside of that, when you're saying, do these things affect us? Hell yeah. I mean, you can go back and look up there, there was 144,000 scientists that were petitioning our government to say, do not release 5G on the public, because let's look at what the science actually shows behind these electromagnetic fields. Heck, pull out your cell phone right now, which I never keep on me. I always keep it off of me, and go search available networks, and you'll see, oh my God, there's 20 of them. So those ions and those electrical frequencies are going through walls and through you as if you were walking through an airport hangar. They're so small. You're constantly being bombarded with things that can disrupt or cause disharmony in your frequency, your vibration, your energy, And so, yes, chemicals, if your body can't deal with them, I teach the concept of excess versus deficiency. And it comes down to deficiency because we just don't get what we need out of our food anymore to fix it. But if you're chronically exposed or have been exposed to something that your body cannot naturally eliminate, why can't it eliminate it? Because it can't handle the process. You've exceeded a threshold to handle it. Why? Because you're deficient in something that you were needed in order to process and eliminate that, or you weren't able to do it fast enough because that load never continually stopped. So by all means, so anything like that, what does it cause? Chronic inflammation, chronic patterns that are stress to the body. And yes, all of those type of things can cause shortening of telomeres.
Yeah. So not only is stress just, what we think about emotionally, but we are also looking at stress as environmental chemicals are stress, mold is stress, EMFs are stress. And then just the way that we go through life, our busyness is also stress, which I want to come back to. And then also nutritional deficiencies and the inability to detoxify and be able to move these things out is stress. Gut infections are stress. All these things are causing a high level of inflammation. And I want to just break this down for people, because I think when people think of stress, I think when we say the word stress, they think about all the appointments that they have to get to. Or if we talk about stress, it almost always goes to emotional stress of some sort. And so I want to make sure that they also know that these are chemical stresses and, et cetera.
It is,
so,
yeah.
So when we're going down to the busyness and we have to be busy. And if you ask somebody how they're doing these days, I'm fine. I'm so busy. So, you know what I mean? And so I guess
sympathetic dominance, total stimulation. Yep.
Right. So what is that really doing to us? Is that, because you really talk about how this is affecting us, is that emotional trauma? Because I know you go back to that childhood trauma. Is that a big piece of why we're in this sympathetic dominance, or do you believe it's something else that's causing this stress?
Why do you make a decision to ask somebody a specific question other than most of us are inside looking for some emotional response ourselves? As a human being, we are always seeking some type of satisfaction or pleasure. Like, hey, I want to clue into that because I think it'll bring that person joy to know that I'm connecting with them. We seek that type of thing. But anything I teach, stress is spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, environmental, and microbial. But, those microbial stressors come from the imbalance of the terrain that's happening on the inside of the body, which, again, they always come back to that it's an imbalance. The Eastern medicine teaches it's all about balance, yin, yang, movement of energy. They're not incorrect, but sometimes it doesn't seem practical when you're not getting, let me stick a needle in myself, but I'm still not fixing because there's a deficiency underlying this aspect of being able to handle it. So I say, hey, you have a threshold. If you are exceeding that threshold, of what you can handle stress-wise, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, environmental, microbial, then you've got symptoms because my body can no longer take care of this, right? So your symptoms come up. So what do you need to do? So I teach a concept of 5 phases. Phase 1, clean up your environment, pure food, pure water, pure air, EMF protection. What are you putting on your bodies? What are you showering in? What are you cooking? What are you eating genetically modified foods? Just look at the quality of what you're changing your environment because your cells are as healthy as they can be based upon your environment. So everybody listening or watching is as healthy as they possibly can be based upon the environment that they've created for their body. And some of them don't even have control of it because they're breathing crap or whatever else in their work environment, right? Molds or whatever. Phase 2, test. What are you reactive to? What are you specifically? What can we identify that are your burdens? What foods are you eating, particularly that you shouldn't be eating? Have you had mold exposure? Do you have heavy metals? Are you working in an old building that's loaded with PCBs? Let's identify your specific burdens. And then phase 3, support. Not support to take everything known to mankind to handle every disease that I have, but give your body what it functionally needs to handle that load while you're lowering the load. So now I've lowered the load and I've raised my threshold because I've taken the support that my body needs. So now that I'm focusing below my threshold, I'm generating more energy than I'm consuming is what it comes down to. And then your body naturally starts to detoxify. That's phase 4. Detox is a natural process, but if you just keep stimulating detox without dealing with the other phases, you might feel better, but if you don't change your lifestyle, it's all going to come back because you have this genetic predisposition based upon your exposures and your stress and your epigenetic changes. And phase 5, self-awareness, okay? So when you get below your threshold and you're detoxing, but you still have some symptoms, those symptoms are your guide. My body's trying to tell me something. How do I clue in? Oh, I ate the wrong food. That's why I'm feeling bloated. I ate the wrong food. That's why I have a headache. I ate the wrong food. That's why I'm not drinking enough water. That's why I'm achy and sore, So those 5 phases is kind of what I teach. So when you're asking these things, and you're in this chronic state of, oh my God, I got to get through my day, everybody says, well, let's feed your adrenal glands and help you to handle it by increasing your cortisol availability. And let's feed you adrenal glandulars or ashwagandha or holy basil or rhodiola, eleuthero. Those are wonderful herbs, but you're just supporting something without fixing what's going on underneath. And the other gland that compensates is that thyroid. I need a higher level of activity, so I need to keep producing something that's going to keep the wheels turning, and that thyroid gets overstressed. So what happens in this lifestyle is chronic adrenal burnout, and what people don't know that I teach from a chemistry standpoint is that salt, particularly sea salt that everyone thinks is good, But that sodium, that salt stimulates cortisol release. So you're chronically burning out your adrenal glands by consuming too much salt regularly. And so people are like, oh my God, don't take away my sea salt. But in reality, that's giving me minerals. But in reality, that high conductivity that's caused by those salts causes nerve irritation, nerve breakdown, smooth muscle breakdown, numbness, tingling, and sensations, usually worse at night, anxiety, worse at night. And it's just like people are like, I just need downtime, and they realize it, but they're not creating a lifestyle for themselves through meditation, prayer, time to reflect, refortifying their body by supporting it with the right foods, the right water, detoxification, get in an infrared sauna, and sweat some of this junk out of you. And I mean, there's a lot of things. I just opened up a can of worms that you got about 1,000 questions at this point, I'm sure.
Oh, I do. So I want to go back through and just reiterate a couple of things that I think are really important that you touched on. Number one, you talked about clean water, and I can't tell you how many conversations I have had in practice where folks have said, well, the city filters my water and they say it's clean. That's number one. Of course I drink filtered water. I drink it right out of my refrigerator through that filter. So can you just comment on that piece for just starters on the clean water piece to just dispel that myth a little bit, if you don't mind?
Again, I teach on a quantum chemistry concept, bioelectric, right? Everything in nature is made of positive or negative charges, okay? And those positive and negative charges form our elements, which form together to make molecules. So it's all energy in motion because they become electromagnetic and they're spinning. So every single compound and everything you see is energy in motion. So if you have water that has all these parts per million that is safe, according to our water company, in your water, those are frequencies that you're consuming. Now, the question is once it goes into your body, can it be put on your frequency? Or does it become a non-resonating burden that your body says, I got to get rid of this? So pure water, I encourage distilled water because distilled water causes a negative ionization effect, which causes the positive charges to be attracted out. Distilled water actually catalyzes. It makes insoluble things soluble to help you to mobilize and eliminate. And I can turn around because this is pure as it gets. It doesn't carry a frequency. They call it dead water because it doesn't carry a frequency. But when you put it in your body's in a frequency, so it adapts to your body's frequency. So, but anything that's in water, even mineral water, has all the frequencies of those minerals. Some of them are good, but some of them are a burden because your body doesn't need them. So I start with, hey, let's get the purest water, bring that into what I'm eating and drinking, and then let's make sure, because our foods are so depleted, that I'm putting the correct minerals in you based upon an analytical perspective of how I teach you to test your own urine and saliva to know what to take.
Awesome. And the second part of my question that I think that was beautiful, how you touched on it, was talking about the adrenal gland and how everybody seems to be going after the adrenal gland repeatedly. Oh, you need to take this herb. You need to be on, my favorite, I think my favorite comment one time was, I'm on ashwagandha. And I was like, awesome. Okay, that's great. I'm just going to do a few other things here to see what else could be going on because they came in with symptoms of fatigue, etc. Great. Well, how long have you been on ashwagandha? A year. I'm waiting for it to start working. So, and ultimately, I think that you made a great point that stimulating the adrenal gland isn't the problem if there's inflammation other places in your body. The adrenal gland, the thyroid gland are reacting to that stimulation. And so I think that was beautifully said, how you went about saying that. And then the last comment I have is when we're talking about, how you're going through your protocol, do you think it's really important for people to be in more of a parasympathetic state when they're going through the protocol, just to calm down a little bit so they can get some of these things out of their system so they're not hyped up and have a lot of places to be and kind of overwhelmed maybe?
Well, some people are so burned out that their body stays in a parasympathetic state in an attempt to repair, and they can't recoup the amount. They can't generate the amount of energy that they need because they're still in this consuming more energy than they're getting kind of pattern,
Mm-hmm.
And so you're supposed to go into a parasympathetic state every single night. You go to sleep, your body shuts down, goes into parasympathetic, internal cleanup happens. But how many people are waking up between 12 and 4, time of the liver? Because they're starting to process things and like, oh my God, why am I so awake? And it's because their body finally has the time to metabolize something that's stimulating, and they're realizing that they're insomnious, and now they're taking something to make themselves sleep, And so, and some of those people are just eating way too much at night. They're generating so much energy from what they're eating. And the body says, what do I do with all this energy? You're just sitting around gaming and watching TV. And now you're going to bed and you just fed me all this food. What do you want me to do with this? Convert it to fat and storage, and what organ has to do that? The liver, so that liver, it's interesting that Eastern medicine finds that the time of the liver is between midnight and 4 a.m. How many people wake up at 3 a.m. every night? Why am I waking up? It's supposed to be in that parasympathetic state. Bottom line, find time to meditate, find time to breathe. You have to breathe. I think one of the best people that teaches breathing techniques is Wim Hof. You aware of Iceman?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So Wim Hof is basically teaching people how to do breathing to blow off carbon dioxide, naturally alkalize the body, driving up oxygen levels by blowing off CO2 and putting the body into a parasympathetic automatic. Okay, I'm going to go into but don't start Wim Hof unless you're sitting down or laying down, because when you first start it, you're going to pass yourself out if you're trying to stand up and like, oh, I can breathe like that, without knowing what it's going to do to you. You know what I mean? Because you're going to stimulate, you're going to activate that autonomic nervous system and bring it into a balance. And it's the Wim Hof jumping into those ice baths, and people can hold their breath for 5 minutes, and stuff like that. It's amazing the science behind what the man's doing. But you gotta, don't just dive into that type of stuff, and he even tells you that, but it's you have to tonify and support the body through the practices of what you do, not through taking something. I tell people, your answer is in a process, not a product. Even though the product Vi-Telometry that we created is amazing for what people are reporting, that's not your answer. The answer is creating a lifestyle that's specific for your needs.
Right. A supplement is great. A supplement is wonderful. It's a supplement to your lifestyle. It's
Correct.
an addition to, it is not, I think we have to get away from that model that I have this disease, I take this pill to manage it. We really need to think about how do we manage it with our lifestyle, and then what supplements can help correct faster, but then how do we continue that lifestyle? So I like that you say that. So that brings me into my next round of questions, which is, well, so what do we do about a shortening telomere?
Well, meditate, breathe. How many people do gasp? They gasp for air. How many people turn around and they sigh and take a deep breath, or they find themselves, like just yawning like a lot. You're trying to get breath. You need that air, so finding that meditative practice is huge for people, that self-awareness. I love the holistic psychologist. I don't know if you're aware of Nicole.
No.
Oh my God, you've got to look up holistic psychologist on Instagram or on YouTube. And she's coming out with her book, basically is equipping people how to become self-aware and to make changes, to realize that your emotions aren't right or wrong. They're only interpreted by your own filters. You know what I mean? And so your filters is what creates them, to create that inner stress. And then but most of it's based upon childhood trauma and how we've learned to react to our environment. And she's like, no, you define who you are. You need to take control of what your life is going to be. And you need to write out what the future you looks like by practicing that practice and respecting other people and acknowledging that those people are going through the same crap in their heads that you are, just it's different for them. Wonderful. Check her out. You'll love her. I
want to give you a standing ovation on that, because that's, all the time I'm like, it's just through your own filter. So wonderfully said.
So what do we do? I'd love to say buy my product, and because I formulated, I was a pharmacist, I was a naturopathic doctor. I did compounding pharmacy while I was in naturopathic medical school and how to mix and blend things. And when I learned about telomeres and in 2014, I'm like, oh my God, this is the greatest. How do you stimulate this enzyme? And I did Google searches on Medline and hundreds of abstracts looking at telomerase activity. And all of a sudden I start seeing all these natural products pop out, and then I look for products for telomere activity. And there was really only one of them at the time called TA65, which has this cycloastragenol and astragaloside 4 in it, which are extracts of astragalus, which is, of course, one of those herbs that I found that had telomerase activity. So I turned around from a pharmacist and a naturopathic standpoint. I'm like, so if I were to formulate a product, I would want to look at things that have telomerase activity. Plus, I use a chemistry perspective. And then I started looking at herbs that all had telomerase activity that if synergistically would work together. So astragalus, thousands of years, adrenal support, immune support, you look at those type of things. It's shown for cardiovascular health, all that type of stuff. And it's one of the most, and that cycloastragenol and astragaloside 4 are specific extracts that have been shown to have telomerase activity. Milk thistle. How many people could use milk thistle? What's it for? Liver support, right? Liver has to handle everything. Known to have telomerase activity. So let's improve the efficiency of what our body deals with. Purslane. Purslane is that weed that we all pull out of our gardens, right? Because it's growing over, but people aren't aware that purslane has the richest source of omega-3 fatty acids of any plant known to mankind. So stop throwing it away in your garden and start throwing it into your salads, right? But when you put essential fats into the picture, they improve the efficiency of how nutrients go in and out of your cells, because all of our cells have fat membranes, right? So the essential fats help with that and help with the brain. Remember, those mice increase their brain size by 25%. So let's get circulation to the brain. Another herb that supports brain circulation, ginkgo, also has telomerase activity. But what does it do? Thins the blood slightly with some platelet activating factor, at the same time known to directly stimulate the aspects of circulation to the brain. Cynomorium. Cynomorium was one of the herbs that I found that had telomerase activity. But cynomorium, again, goes back thousands of years in Chinese medicine as a yang tonic. They call it the elixir of life. And it's used basically as a sexual vitality type of herb. It literally looks like little, you just go look up cynomorium. It looks what it looks like growing out of the ground, And, but cynomorium gives you that vitality that it's a yang tonic to stimulate that get up and go, but it doesn't make you feel like caffeine. It doesn't keep you awake at night. It just kind of supports you in that aspect. Another aspect is antioxidants are shown to help that telomerase activity, okay, or help with telomeres, but also green tea specifically, chamomilla. So I have green tea extract in here because not only the polyphenols and those ellagic acid, what are they? 300 times more antioxidant activity than vitamin C. They're known to be anti-cancer, all the benefits of green tea and everything. But again, it has telomerase activity. Elderberry and resveratrol, it's in elderberry. What does it do? Supports your immune system. So look at what we're talking about. Antioxidants support your immune system, improve circulation to the brain, helps fat membranes, help your liver detoxify, anti-aging, support your adrenal glands. All of that stuff is in there. And then I bring that bioelectric concept in. And with calcium regulates all the minerals of the body. The ability of minerals to move in and out of the cell are governed by calcium. And so 84% of your body composition, when you go back to ashes, is calcium and phosphate because of your bone is calcium phosphate. So I put a product called Mincol, calcium phosphate, in there because calcium regulation is to help stimulate the electrical potential of this. And then I put lemon juice extract because lemon, when I talked about everything is either positive or negative charges, positive cations, negative anions, that make up everything in the universe. All foods are cationic except lemons. Lemons are 100% anionic. So you see all these things out there that say, hey, drink lemon juice and do this with your lemon every day, and it's so healthy and beneficial. Not only is it antimicrobial, not only is it antioxidant, but lemon as an anionic dispersant helps when you're putting something in the digestive tract to disperse and get more energy out of what you're doing. So we've had people, I'm amazed that you got this yesterday and you didn't try it.
I haven't tried it yet. Yeah, you got to give me a day to try it.
Yesterday, you would have immediately seen it.
All right. I'll try it. I'll try it when I get home today. I will.
Well, we formulated it so people could take up to 12, but we put 120 in a bottle because 4 a day seems to work for most people. So either take all 4 of them all at once. You won't feel wired. Most people, it doesn't upset their stomach. I take 4 in the morning. Usually I take 6 in the morning, and then or you could take like 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon for people who are crashing and having those lows in the afternoon. Those are sugar crashers. I could go over a whole other aspect of analytics of why that happens to people from adrenal burnout and how you're burning through your energy reserves. But yeah, Vi-Telometry has turned out to be just a wonderful product. And not only that, I created a product called K9 Telometry. So what happened is I had a 13-year-old laboratory, lab, a yellow lab, and she was arthritic, cataracts, starting to lose bladder control, couldn't go up and down the stairs. And my wife's like, we got to put her down. And I had just finished making my product and everything at that time. I'm like, well, let me go and just mix something for her. And so what I did is I mixed my herbs in a baggie with some collagen, some hydrolyzed collagen. And we started, so she'd eat it. And, next thing you know, my dog ended up living another 2 years of quality life to 15 years as a purebred lab, going up and down the stairs, still playing, regained bladder control, wasn't peeing all over the house anymore, regained, memory because she started walking and going out of our yard, which she never did, so she regained her senility. It was amazing. So just a month ago, we came out with K9 Telometry for people to give their animals, because you can't lie about what it's doing in an animal. You know what I mean?
No placebo effect at all.
Exactly. It's just been a wonderful kind of process that we've gone through.
Yeah. So, something that I have seen also time and time again with oxidative stress is just the effect on the mitochondrial function. You see it repeatedly over and over again, that the oxidative stress, from all the things that we've talked about, is very prevalent. And I think, as we talk about graying hair or cataracts, I can hear some of the 20-year-olds saying, well, that's not me, that's not me. And I'll tell you, repeatedly running testing, you can already see the dysfunctioning happening early on in your 20s. So, I think it's all about your lifestyle and how you take care of yourself, and eating late at night and drinking a lot or drinking until late at night and not sleeping. You really see that unravel at a pretty early age. So awesome.
Definitely.
Yeah. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you think is important to add?
Not specifically, not about the product or anything like that. I encourage people, because I teach things that are that are not taught. My book is called Restorative Health by the Numbers, and right now we're working to find a publishing agent to put it out that'll help us marketing it, because it's hard to get into the book scene to actually get your book to where people can see it versus
distribute,
just turning around and making your own book that you're like, okay, how do I sell this now, right? And so, but it's so unique because I'm explaining to people how they can test and know in their own house, and so how to understand what your food is doing to you, and how the numbers that you can generate by monitoring a few things in your urine and saliva can tell you so much. And so to learn more, I just tell people, go to Doc Misak, DOC Misak, MISAK.com. And at docmisak.com, there's a link for Vi-Telometry. Take you to the Vi-Telometry. There's a link for Pittsburgh Alternative Health. That's my business. And then there's also a media link where I've done podcasts from people like you, but I've written articles in Naturopathic Doctor News and Review. I've, all of that information that's there, including my YouTube channel, which is Doc Misak. Anybody can, is learning how a lifestyle that's specific to you, and how just monitoring a couple simple things can help you to achieve that. That's my real message. But the product is just something that came out of it and if people want to say, well, I hear him talking and benefiting and promoting his product, I encourage you to buy it through the Vi-Telometry website. And if people use Fearless as a discount code, we'll give them 10% off for trying it, whether for them or for their dog. And that way that we know that they're actually listening to your show. And I thank you for letting me be here, right?
Yeah.
So if you go to Vi-Telometry.com or Doc Misak, if you purchase and use Fearless, you get 10%. But if you go on Amazon and you look up Vi-Telometry, read the reviews, because you can't make claims. We don't put claims on our website, right? But on Amazon, you can see what people who have purchased it will say. And that's where I'm going to tell you, go read those reviews, because the people who have taken this product, it is even young and old, it changes their life. We've had wonderful response from that. People's hair getting dark, people climbing mountains without getting fatigued, people having their sex life return, people having their sex life stimulated, people having chronic fatigue go away, people having thyroid disorders improve. And we're not claiming any of that. But what we've done is formulated a product to support your brain, your liver, your antioxidant well-being, your adrenal glands, and you just look at what's in there. And when you combine them together, there's this thing called synergy, and synergy is where 1 + 1 = 10. And that's what we kind of ended up happening with the product.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And if you like what we're doing, please subscribe. Please say hello. Let us know what you want to hear more of. We'd love to hear from you. And thank you if you've given us a 5-star review. We've gotten quite a bit of those recently on iTunes. So we really appreciate it. And we will talk to you next time. Thank you.